I try not to be up to the, just down to the wire on my timing. I try to build in lots of time into my projects because I don't know what I'm going to be able to manage from day to day. And so, as a person with chronic health conditions, you just kind of don't know what's going to come up. So I like to make sure that I have time built into my schedule and start working on something earlier rather than later, so that I'm not like at the last minute trying to crank something out. It does happen where I come close to deadlines, and it's kind of like having the rituals, having the routines, having a way to signal to my brain it's focus time now. I've got my headphones in, I'm doing my Brain FM. It helps me. Again, sometimes all I can produce is garbage. That's okay, because you're going to come back to it tomorrow. Your brain is going to keep working on it. As we all know, our brains continue to work on things after we have walked away from our desk and we're going about our business. And when I come back tomorrow, I can usually do much more. I also use AI. I have used AI for a couple of years in my business. So if I'm really stuck, I'll just start plugging in like what I've got and see what if it can generate ideas for me that really sort of spark something and set me off more creatively. Now, if I'm going through a period of time where this is becoming a recurring issue and I'm just sort of dry creatively, that tells me that I need to spend more time managing my energy input. So making sure that like some of it is kind of the content sponging, like you were talking about before, right? It's important to me that my brain is feeling creative. So whatever that means, I love poetry. I love art. I love a lot of, so I will just kind of immerse myself in the things that feel inspiring and beautiful to me. I sometimes a writing exercise that's completely different from what we're doing, I find to be helpful. So I'll write a poem about an object on my desk or, something like that, just to kind of get my brain thinking differently. And then also just kind of being gentle with yourself. I think that when we start to get really stressed out about deadlines, my brain doesn't want to work and why did anyone ever hire me for this job? I think that at least once in every project, I'm like, someone paid me to write for them. And there's always that part in the process. And then you come out of it and you're like, well, I did a good job. Like, that's great. That ended up being just fine. So like when you've gone through that a few times, I think you have to just remember to like be gentle with yourself. We are not robots. We're not machines. We are not AI. We're human people with human brains and human bodies. And sometimes they just don't cooperate with us on any given day with what we feel like we need them to do. And it's fine. It will still be fine. It will.
Yeah, it's so funny you use the analogy, we are not robots. My aunt always lovingly teases me as I have these goals and like this output I want to do. And she keeps saying, I want to be a robot. She's like, your dream is to be a robot. But like the expectations I have of myself would be ones only a robot can make. So I just have to remind myself, I am a human. I am not AI. And I know where he picked it up. Like AI wasn't popular back then, but I idolized Tim Ferriss. And to me, well, actually, I found out later. So I idolized Tim Ferriss, and to me, he did output like a robot, and he was amazing and productive. But like later, he like softened his image, and he sat down and talked about Marie Forleo. And I found out when he wrote books, he would like procrastinate and clean his shoes and like play with his plants or whatever. He was just doing the same thing other writers. So he is really productive, like more than the average human, but he had struggles as a creative too. But I didn't know till after following him for 10 years when he like softened his image. So.
Every writer I've ever heard of has their procrastination things that they do. It's like everybody. And sometimes it's like I wrote a sentence and like, that's great. I need a snack now. Or that's great. I'm going to go like switch my laundry. Like I have to keep kind of, I sit here usually and I do best when I have a good focus session, but sometimes it's not that way. And I just sort of plod my way through it. And I think that's all of us. So, we just have to always keep that in mind. It's like the best writers in the world have sort of the same issues. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah, and one thing I want to highlight, because it's something I have mastered finally. Well, I will use mastered loosely. I don't want to jinx myself, but it was a hard lesson learned, and I'm glad I learned it. Start as early as you can. Don't leave yourself up to the wire. Like back in college English classes, especially, I would be working overnight. Even in law school, I had these big papers and then we work like till dawn, and like that is like physically sickening. Then when I became an adult as a
Mhm.
copywriter, I wouldn't work till dawn, but there were times I worked till 2 a.m. to meet deadlines early in my copy career. But then I learned, like, for the sake of my health, my sanity, and it's just a more enjoyable experience. Start early. The days where it's flowing, just keep going and give yourself buffer times on the deadline. So, like, if you have a day
Mhm.
where nothing gets done, it's fine. You still have several more days to do it. So, I think that is like so important.
It really is. And then it's like it's a win-win because if you finish ahead of your deadline because you gave yourself buffer time and you were on fire and you got it done, then you get to deliver early.
Yeah.
And how good does that make you look? It's so much better to ask for more time up front than maybe I don't really know what's normal, but like if somebody says they can turn it around quickly and you want more time, it's better all around because you make sure you're not going to be late. But if you're early, all the better. It's a fun surprise.
Exactly. And back when I was a freelancer, I'm in house now, but back when I was a freelancer, I would, like, let's say I needed a week to do something, I would ask for like 10 days. Like, I would tack on buffer time, like, yeah, on the front end, like overestimate how
Right.
long it would take. So, yeah, I always do that.